Professor Geeta Santhosh, Professor and Head Faculty of Computer and Application Department, Acropolis Institute of Technology and Research, is an alumnus of School and Computer Science DAVV Indore. In a career spanning of 3 decades, she has been associated with various prominent academic and research institutions. They include UTD Barakatullah University, Bhopal, Inter-University Consortium of DAE Facilitates Indore, Assam Memorial College, Chennai, and HCL-owned Assistant College of Engineering, Chennai. Professor Geeta ma'am has handled many consultancy assignments for Assistant College, Chennai, for companies like HCL and CTS. She was also the part of team involved in developing curriculum for Globe University, USA. She has published papers in referred international and national journals and in the proceeding of international and national conferences and acted as resource in many FDPs in various prestigious institutions. So, before we get started, I would like to inform you that you can ask your question in the comment section, and meanwhile the session you will get a feedback link, so please mark your attendance there to avail the certificates. Now, ma'am, I request you to continue the session.
Thank you, Durva. Good afternoon, everybody, and I'm very pleased to address you all under the aegis of IEEE WIE and FC department. So, topic for today is Introduction to Blockchain. The agenda of my presentation is as follows. I'll be introducing the blockchain, its features, and the basic terminologies of blockchains. And I will be giving a little bit introduction to Bitcoin, which is one of the most famous blockchain. And then we'll also look into some of the business use cases. This is one of the very, very famous quote which I had read in the Trust magazine in 2015, and which was true then is also true today. So the quote says, to understand the power of blockchain systems and the things they can do, it is important to distinguish between three things that are commonly muddled up, namely the Bitcoin currency, the specific blockchain that underpins it, and the idea of blockchains in general. So today, generally, people are thinking Bitcoin is the only blockchain, and whatever is the features of the Bitcoin that is only prevalent in all the other blockchain. I hope I'll be able to clear up this confusion, and at the end of the session, you'll be able to tell what exactly is a blockchain and what kind of applications which are available in blockchain. So we'll start. So when you look at blockchain, there's a very famous definition of blockchain which says that it is a peer-to-peer distributed ledger that is cryptographically secure, append only, immutable, updatable only via the consensus among peers. Lots of keywords, lots of difficult words here. So let us look into all these words in detail to tell in short, it is a distributed ledger. Like for example, whenever we blockchain first has was started as an alternative to the Bitcoin blockchain, started as an alternative to the banking system. So when we have in bank we store our cash. So if I have to give Durva one check, so if I say that I am paying Durva 1,000 rupees, so the bank takes guarantee that it says a SBI check. So SBI check, if I'm paying to Durva, then the bank will take the guarantee that definitely Geeta Santosh does not pay it. The bank will ensure that the money is paid to Durva. What does it mean? It means that there is a third party which is regulating the transaction between Durva and myself, right? Now, this Bitcoin and the blockchain is totally different, right? It is not. It is totally doing away the need of the third party. So any kind of asset we want to exit, it need not be money. It can be a property, it can be a vehicle, or it can be any supply chain raw material which has to be transported across the supply chain from the warehouses to the factories or to the retail outlet. Everywhere this blockchain can be used. So now we'll look into this difficult terminologies this blockchain definition is made up of. So the first word which is there is the peer-to-peer network. Peer means what? Peer is somebody who is your contemporary. So we are talking about peer in terms of the network. So if you look into this particular network, there are lots of computers, right? In blockchain terminology, in distributed system terminology, we call all these so computers as nodes. Now, the fact that these nodes have been called as peer means that each of these nodes has got the same role to play. So, in a transaction between Durga and Geeta Santhosh, bank plays a senior role. The bank plays the role of a mediator and the bank, but here nobody plays the role of the mediator. Durva or Geeta or Chiraditya or Pushpa madam or Nidhi madam or Gondal sir, anybody is there in this network, everybody is in snake, right? So peer to peer or P2P, which as it is most famously known. So any kind of a blockchain has to be a P2P network, right, where everybody is connected to everybody. Secondly, it is a distributed ledger or a shared ledger. So ledger is kind of a document which is used in bank, wherein any kind of, or in any shopkeeper also. You would have heard this term Bahi Khata, in terms of Munimji and shopkeeper, etc. So wherein what happens is any kind of transaction that happens, any kind of payments that come in, and any kinds of payments that leave are written to the ledger. So you write what comes in and what goes out. Now, that particular ledger is stored in one no, a centralized place in a shopkeeper environment or in a banking environment. The term distributed ledger or DLT, distributed ledger technology, means that each of these nodes will have a copy of the transaction that is happening in this node. So if this particular node, say Durva, has a series of transaction that is happening between all the parties here, Geeta madam will also have the same, Pushpa madam will also have the same, Gondal sir will also have the same, Chiraditya will also have the same, and Nidhi madam will also have the same. So everybody will have the same copy of the ledger. Since the ledger, which was earlier centralized, is now distributed, that's why the term DLT or distributed ledger. Another important terminology here is updatable via consensus. Consensus means what? Everybody has to agree on what is the content of this ledger. So if Durva doesn't agree, then the content cannot be updated. If Geeta madam doesn't agree, the content cannot be updated. So updation happens only when there is a consensus. Consensus is total agreement, right? Now, many a times what happens is many of the nodes will be down, they may have failed, they may have crashed. So, consensus is amongst the nodes which are currently active. So, there are lots of consensus algorithm. We are not going into look into that. But what I want to say is, whenever you talk of blockchain, consensus is very important term in that. And there is something known as immutable. Immutable means what? Once you have written something into this distributed ledger, which is the block, then this particular information can never be changed. So it is blockchain is peer-to-peer distributed ledger technology where updation happens only through distributed consensus consensus, and once there is verification and commitment, the information becomes immutable. So to go ahead, this is how a typical blockchain looks like. It is kind of a tree-like structure wherein each of these entity is a block, and it is connected to a previous block. So the lots of lots of calculations happen here for calculating the block value and hash function. We are not going into that, but you just try to understand how it looks like. Now, we'll look into some of the basic terminologies which I use in blockchain. The first terminology is a transaction. For example, I told you that I gave a check of 1,000 rupees to Durga. That is a transaction between myself and Durga. Similarly, any transaction which happens between any of the nodes in the blockchain, which is some kind of a value transfer. It could be a transfer of money if we are talking about Bitcoin currency, and I will not use the word money, I will use the word currency here. Or it could be an asset transfer and some kind of currency exchange based on that asset transfer. That will be a transaction, right? So at a given point of time, there will be hundreds of transactions which are happening amongst all the nodes. So there will be lots of transactions which are currently being written into the block. There will be lots of transactions which are there in pending but which has not yet been written. But since everybody is hearing what is happening, everybody gets to know what is happening, they can decide whatever is being written into the block is correct or not. So this is, and the consensus, there are various kinds of consensus algorithm which are available. No, we'll look into. I'll tell you the names of the few of the algorithms. This is how the a typical block looks like. Another terminology in blockchain is known as mining. Now we have. I told you peer means all the nodes are connected to each other and they can participate in some kind of a transaction amongst each other. Not at all the times all nodes will participate, some of the nodes will participate, right? Now, although all these nodes have the same role, they have been called as peer means somebody who is of your no who's of your who's your contemporary, right, who has the same role to play as you. But then there are certain nodes in this blockchain network which can which have high processing power and they can solve a cryptographic puzzle and which help them write the information into the block. And once they solve this cryptographic puzzle and are the first one to write into a block, some kind of cryptocurrency is given to them, right? This is some kind of a pending transaction which is happening, which has not yet been written into the block. And these are the transactions that has been already written into the block, right? The process of writing the transactions into the block after getting approval from all the peers is known as mining. Not all the nodes can be miners. Some of them can participate in mining, and some of them can just take part in other transactions. So, this is another slide about mining, which tells you that once everybody verifies what is written into the block is correct, then only a block is complete and then it is added to a previous block. This is how the blockchain continues to go. It is known as immutable because once something is written there, it will not be changed. So a miner is that node which will select amongst the pending transaction what are the transaction he has to write into the block. And based on that transaction, it will solve a cryptographic puzzle and find the address of the block. Among all the miners, whichever miner finds his address first gets to write the content to the block. So actually, how this distributed ledger works is users are taking part into transactions. So I'm initiating a transaction between myself and say Durva. So all this transaction is initiated and then it is being broadcasted to all the nodes. So when I'm talking to Durva, please, I'm giving you 1,000 rupees. Everybody in the network, Gondal sir, Pushpa madam, D madam, Durva, and Chiraditya, all of them can hear. And once maybe Gondal sir has got high computing power, so he is one of the miners, and he can validate. He can solve a cryptographic puzzle, and he can find the hash value of the block, and everybody else can validate. Okay, yes, Geeta madam has transferred 1,000 rupees to Durga. So once it get validated, then it is written into it is the that validation is written into the block and that block gets broadcasted and consensus is obtained from all, and then once it has been written finally nobody can change the block. So this is what is known as a distributed ledger. So there are two kinds of blockchains which are popular. One is known as a public blockchain, which is not owned by anyone. Anybody can join, anybody can leave, and any transaction which is happening in this public blockchain is always confirmed with the help of a consensus process, right? So every, as I told you, it is a distributed ledger. So every user is maintaining its copy of the transaction, and then with the help of what copy the user or the node has, they can decide whether to verify the transaction or not. Two of the very famous public blockchains are Bitcoin and Ethereum. Then there are set of private blockchain. They're also known as the permission blockchain, right? See, organizations are not very comfortable, with their data being in the public domain. So what they want is, I don't want my blockchain to be public, but then I would want what all activity I'm going to do in my organization to be written in the same form as a blockchain works, so that there is immutability, there is no consensus and things like that, right? So there only those group of individuals who are belonging to this particular blockchain can take part into that transaction. And here, I would not say everybody is a peer, because it's a private organizational blockchain. There may be a hierarchy. Some of the people will have higher privileges than the other privileges, but then information is available to all. So any kind of database management, any kind of database applications for any particular organization can be implemented via the private blockchain. Hyperledger Fabric by IBM is a very good example of a private blockchain, right? So it is highly efficient, and it is no it has full privacy. So it helps organization to harness the features of the blockchain at the same time, not be in the public domain. Then there is something known as a smart contract. In Bitcoin, it is known as a smart contract. In Ethereum, it is known as a DApp. Similar terms are used in other blockchain, but the concept is the same. So I'm saying that in blockchain, I'm going to transact with other members of the group, and for some application, right? It need not be just money exchange, right? So when I'm transacting for some application, I need to run some kind of a program. I need to run some kind of a business logic. So whenever any transfer happens, then a particular business logic automatically gets executed. That business logic or business rule is known as a smart contract. So any kind of application implementation of blockchain happens via the smart contract. Sorry. So how does the smart contract works? So in smart contract, for example, there is a seller and there is a buyer. So when there is a seller and a buyer, so I want to sell my asset to this buyer. Say I'm going to sell a land. So what kind of things I need to do in this blockchain? I need to register my this selling and buying has to be registered with a government registration office, right? Government office, property registration, wherever it happens. And then I need the documents to be transferred. If I'm going to buy, I'm going to need the documents for me. So once this agreement happens between the seller and the buyer, then automatically smart contract comes into picture, which ensures that the details, the asset transfer happens, the registry happens, and everything happens. And once it is being done, that information becomes immutable. So nobody can no, dispute later on that okay, this particular person is not the owner, or one particular land cannot be sold to multiple people. So this logic is embedded in the blockchain, so that a buyer can this is a buying seller and selling of a land. I gave you an example. Similar examples can also help. Now, Bitcoin is one of the very, very popular blockchain, and it has been propounded by Satoshi Nakamoto. No, it is a pseudonym. Nobody knows whether it is single person or a group of person. So, what he said that whenever you are trying to, in bank, what happens? You need to have a trusted third party when you are talking about banks. So there has to be an environment wherein people can transact with each other without knowing them, without trusting them. So even if there is no trust, but as long as there is cryptographic proof that this transaction has happened, then that kind of network is much better than third party trust, right? So he started with no, this Bitcoin thing. Initially, there were these many Bitcoins in hand, and he's considered to be the richest person in the world. And what he said, he talked about what is this term cryptocurrency. So if I'm transferring some kind of a digital document to Durva, so what stops Durva from making a copy of that money? See, now when we transact, we give actual physical money, right? And if I'm transferring a digital cash to Durva, she can no try to make copies of it and send it to. So if I'm giving her $10, she can send it to 10 copies of that, and she can use it as $100, right? So, but the idea here is that if that particular money is cryptographically signed using a mechanism in which you can't forge, you can't duplicate the information, then nobody, although it is a digital information, but nobody is able to change the information, right? So that is why that is the beauty of cryptography. So Bitcoin is based on cryptography, and this Satoshi Nakamoto felt that why should there be a third party when there can be a transaction between two willing party, as long as there is a cryptographic proof. So I had told you what exactly happens in mining. In mining, the special nodes which have got better power, better computing power. Say you can say no, supercomputer power. You transact around millions instructions per second, right? So a normal computer, a normal laptop will not be able to solve, because you have to solve this puzzle in no, in just a split second, maybe in few seconds and 10 seconds and all. And that puzzle is a very 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 difficult puzzle to solve, right? So the miners who find and solve this cryptography puzzle get the chance to write the block, and as a chance to write the block in the Bitcoin network, they are given some kind of a transaction fee or a miner reward. Currently, the Bitcoin reward is 6.25 Bitcoin, which is equivalent to this amount. And one Bitcoin is equal to around no, 30, this much, 34,8882.571 Indian rupees. And there are currently 18,925 thousand Bitcoins in existence. And there has been a maximum cap on how many Bitcoins are there. There are 21 million Bitcoin can ever exist, and every 4 years the reward is roughly half. But the 6.25 Bitcoin itself is too big a huge reward. So people want to get this reward. That's why they do Bitcoin mining, and but they need to have, so people together they can combine their resources and also mine. They are known as mining consortium, and most of the mining consortiums are based in China. So I'll just look into one or two business scenarios. So, for example, no, supply chain is a very very good example. So if no, you have asked, no, you have booked for some particular raw material fabric. You are a no, you are a fashion boutique and you want raw materials from a particular place. So you can see that what is the no, traversal of this entire no, path this particular truck traverses from the no, the person who delivers the raw material to the factory, where exactly the ultimate no, garment is manufactured. So you can track once the supplier says that he has supplied this much amount of no, material fabric, then that gets written into an immutable ledger, so nobody can take away the material. So in case some material is taken away in the transit, then the driver is made responsible, because whatever is written on this blockchain cannot change. So since you have all these things written in the blockchain, it becomes easier for it is more safer, right? And there is this concept of provenance. Provenance means that you are whom you say you are, right? So if I say that I don't know somebody, I have found through Google that this particular supply chain of Lucknowi kurtas, he stays in Lucknow. So how do I know that he's a no, real user or not? So we have a provenance application which will allow us to no, change the thing, which will allow us to kind of no, check whether that particular person is the same person. In agricultural also, you can know, agricultural sector have lots of use cases which you can use in so from the factory to your plate. Farm to the plate is a very good concept nowadays. So from the farm to the plate, what is the path that the vegetables and fruits travels, and how it gets transported into a dish, and that dish you order from some no, big supplier, some restaurant, that you can track via blockchain. Even the no, the farmers have to sell their agricultural crops. So if it is given in blockchain, and there's a traceability, there is no middleman who can take away the no, crop. About crop insurance also, whether you need to know whether the crop is has really been destroyed in some natural calamity, or somebody is just trying to say that. So there are lots of application in education field. You think of any sector, you may find applications. I just thought that I will just share two applications, one in the supply chain, another is the agriculture sector. One very common question which is being asked generally is, what is the difference between a database and a blockchain, right? So, database have admins and they have centralized control. Whereas blockchain, as I told you, is a distributed, decentralized ledger technology. And there is no admin, there is no middleman there. Everybody who are in the network, they together decide what exactly is the content, right? When you have databases, only you need to have rights to access the databases. Blockchain, if it's a public blockchain, anybody can be part of the public blockchain. Here, you can do certain kind of operations only when you have those privileges. Here, anybody can write a block if you have. You can solve that puzzle using the consensus algorithm. The consensus algorithm used in Bitcoin is known as proof of work, and the consensus algorithm which Ethereum is going to use now is proof of stake. Right? Database is definitely faster. In split second, you get the answer. In blockchain, maybe 5 minutes, and so you have to do. But in database, anybody can change the content of the database, right? If you have the privilege. But blockchain, once written, the history is immutable. Immutable is a word you can't change, right? So this is what was my presentation. So I told you what is a blockchain. It is a peer-to-peer distributed ledger which is cryptographically secure, append only, immutable, and updatable via the consensus among player. Bitcoin and Ethereum are the examples of two public blockchain. Hyperledger Fabric is a permission blockchain, and lots of applications you can develop in blockchain. There are lots of new blockchains are also coming, and new technology. Solidity and Python based programming, smart contracts can be written in Solidity, they can be written in Python, and they can be written in Solana, Rust. There are so many new technologies which are coming, which are facilitating developing or the application in blockchain. So it's an interesting field to know. So I just hope my presentation today has helped you understand what is blockchain, right? The definition of blockchain and the meaning of all these terms: peer to peer, distributed ledger, cryptographically secure, append only, and immutable. So this is the references which I have used. This is Arvind Narayan is one scientist who have done lots of work in blockchain, and especially in Bitcoin, and especially in Bitcoin mining, and the data structure of Bitcoin, which is the Merkle tree. And this is one of the blockchain book which is available, and these sources, that the images and the tables I have taken from these sources. These are my handles.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am. This
and
was
ready for any
really very,
question.
yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. This was really very helpful. Now I request my teammate Niharika Chauhan to put up the questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ma'am, there are some questions from the audience.
Yeah,
My
please
first
tell.
question is there any disadvantage in using a blockchain?
Disadvantage in the sense that once you've written a, see, there's no disadvantage as such. It is, it is a new technology which is there, so it has not yet find widespread usage. Like databases we can use, you and we can use, right? In blockchain, you need to have that kind of a computing, as a user you can definitely use it, right? But see, we are people who want to touch and see things, right? So we are not very comfortable with something. Not many of us, many of you maybe, which is not digitized, which is the cryptocurrency. We don't know much about it, right? So disadvantages, I will not say there is disadvantages. It is a difficult technology, and which has to see much more. Like it is to develop much more.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, my next question is how does blockchain support Bitcoin?
Blockchain is Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is one of the first blockchain, and Bitcoin is only for transfer of digital currency. So there are now many new blockchains which have come, which are supporting various applications, as I told you, supply chain and agriculture. Bitcoin was the first blockchain. The name of the blockchain is also Bitcoin, and the currency which is exchanged is also Bitcoin, right? So in Ethereum, the currency is Ether. Whereas in Bitcoin, the name of the blockchain is also Bitcoin and the currency is also Bitcoin. So here it is a public blockchain. And if you need to transfer cryptocurrency, rather than transferring money, I can give some 10 Bitcoins to Kundal sir. Kundal sir can give 5 Bitcoin to Durva. But everybody knows how many Bitcoins Kundal sir has or Geeta madam has. So if I don't have 100 Bitcoins and I'm trying to give 200 Bitcoins, nobody will update that, right? So Bitcoin and blockchain is the first of the blockchains which came into being.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, my next question is, what is the difference between Bitcoin blockchain and Ethereum blockchain?
Yeah. One is I'll talk about the similarities first. Similarity is both of them are public blockchain, right? And initially, both of them worked on a consensus algorithm, which is known as proof of work, right? Now, Ethereum has now going to progress to another consensus algorithm, which is known as proof of stake, right? Uh, Bitcoin is only primarily for cryptocurrency Bitcoin. Ethereum, you can develop, D apps or smart contracts, which will, which is some kind of a business application you can develop, which is not possible in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is purely for money, cryptocurrency transfer. And
Okay.
Ethereum is faster as compared to Bitcoin.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, my next question is, who doesn't know blockchain technology? How we can explain it to someone?
Somebody who doesn't know blockchain technology, you can explain in the way that it is a technology wherein there is no third party, and if any two strangers want to exchange some kind, say, we'll give an example of a cryptocurrency. If any two stranger want to exchange some money, which is a cryptocurrency, I don't know that person, and the person doesn't know me. For example, I told you if I'm owning a boutique and I want to get some Lucknowi fabric from some vendor at Lucknow. I don't know him; he doesn't know me. So he's sending me the material, and I have to send him the money. So in that case, what happens is like we don't know each other, and there is no third party involved. But there is this whole network of peers who are listening into the transaction which is happening. So later on, I can't go back that I didn't order this much material, and he can't go back that he has not received the money because it is happening openly in a public platform. So that is how blockchain has to be understood. If there is no third party, there's no need to trust somebody. Still, transaction happens, and nobody can fool you unless until they have. No, I'm not saying that blockchain is not breachable. There has been attacks on blockchain, but then attacking blockchain network is so tough because you need to have that kind of computing power. You need to have that amount of no. Even if the attack happens, it just happens only for 5 seconds or 10 seconds or 10 minutes like that. So that is what is a blockchain in a nutshell.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, my next question is, why is blockchain a trusted approach?
Actually, it is not a trusted approach. It is, but still, it gives the maximum trust. So you think of a situation wherein a number of strangers who don't know each other are willing to exchange lakhs of rupees because in this mistrust is their trust. Mistrusting others is the biggest trust because nobody knows each other. So nobody can join together to do something, take money from you, and everybody knows what is happening. All transactions are being broadcasted. So that is why it is an untrusted network which should be trusted. And once a transaction is happened and it is written into the block, then what happens? It
Okay.
doesn't. Nobody can change. It is immutable.
Okay. Ma'am, please can you tell some popular platforms for developing blockchain applications?
You can Ethereum is one, and you can there is one Remix IDE in Ethereum where you have to learn a programming language known as Solidity, and you can write smart contracts in Solidity. And you can there are some remix ID is a kind of a no it is open to all people can work on that, and they can work. That is one. There are many more, but this is one which comes to my mind major.
Thank you, ma'am. That's it from my side about the questions. Anything else you want to share with us?
No, I think that's about it all. And it's a new technology, and there are lots of introductory courses which are available in Coursera. I would suggest all the students at least do the introductory course, and lots of material is available in the web. And your future is blockchain, so you must definitely go and read more about it. And maybe I can learn from all of you there. And I learned quite recently, and I am quite enamored by it.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I will be presenting the token
Thank you,
of
thank you.
gratitude. We are very thankful to you for giving us your virtual time from your busy schedule to grace this meeting. I would also like to thank our faculty coordinator, Professor Shubhi Joshi, ma'am, for giving us a thought throughout the event, my teammates, and last but not the least, our audience for making this session a grand success. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Shubhivan.
Now I leave the meeting. You can leave the meeting.
Thank you.